If you found this video, there's a reason why. I'm going to be diving in exactly how to effortlessly enroll clients, because here's the thing. A lot of people have an audience. A lot of people have a personal brand, but they're not monetizing it. And here's the thing. Monetizing, yes, that's a financial transactional thing. However, if you can flip the script and think the more money and the more profit that you can make, the more people you can actually impact and serve in this world. And that is my intention of this training, is to serve, is to make an impact, so I can help you create your Freedom First business. So get stuck into this. If you have a notebook, I'd strongly recommend take some notes, and I'm going to be diving into how you can start effortlessly signing more clients. Let's go. Sweet, are we rolling?
We're rolling.
Action. Here we are. Right, we're live. Obviously, just want to say grateful for all of you being here tonight as well. Chris, is Chris here?
Yeah.
There he is. Absolutely smashed it. And I think this type, we strategically did the night in this order, because ultimately, like, stage number 1 is obviously attracting clients. And then stage number 2 is now you've got the audience, because there's a lot of influencers that have an audience, but then they're not actually monetizing their audience at all. So the next stage is all about how to effortlessly enroll your dream clients. Obviously, the focus, and interestingly, Chris was talking a lot about trust. It's the same, the way I sell and the way I help my clients sell is focusing on trust. Because ultimately, trust is going to create long-term clients. If you're constantly convincing people, you're pushing people, you're manipulating people into moving forward, you're not going to have trust there. You might get the quick cash, you might get some money, but you're not going to have long-term clients. So the sales strategy that I teach and focus on is all about focusing on trust. One thing I want to do actually, before we get into this, is something I love to do, because I know, these type of events, when you're sat down for quite a while, you can sometimes get a bit low energy. So I want everyone to stand up for me a moment. It's like being back at school again. And something that I do, so for me, a big part of sales and a big part of business is energy. Energy is everything. So if you're on a sales call and you're in a real low energy, you're in a low frequency, and you're trying to have someone move forward and invest into you, and you're in a low energy, do you think they're going to probably move forward with you? Probably not. Whereas when you're on a call with someone, they're confident, they're certain, they're making you feel good, they're more likely then going to move forward. So there's a question that I ask myself before I do anything, whether I'm doing a talk like this, if I'm doing a sales call, if I'm even meeting family, I ask myself this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I'm in low energy right now, or 10 being I'm feeling high off life, where am I right now? And if I'm a bit lower and I haven't, sometimes when you're on back-to-back calls, it can be quite fatiguing, it can be quite tiring. So if you haven't got long in between a call, you might not have time to go and run a 5K. So something I always do, and I'll do it with all of you now, just to increase the energy even more in here, is I do a 10-second clap. So we'll all do that now together, because here's the thing. When it comes to energy, even when it comes to watching a training like this, if you're in a higher energy, a higher frequency, you're going to actually take in more when you're in that frequency. So we'll all do it together. We'll create the frequency of this room before this training. So 3, 2, 1, and then we're going to clap like a maniac for 10 seconds, right? 3, 2, 1. How is everyone feeling now? Feeling good, yeah? 10x. Amazing. 10x the energy. So a quick show of hands. Who started business or wants to get into business because they wanted more freedom? Yeah? Who knows they're capable of earning more money from their personal brand, from their business, than they're currently doing right now? Yeah? Everyone? Yeah. Including me as well. Like I'm sharing this, but there's levels to the game. And who has ever worried about this? This is the real one I want to talk about today. Who has ever worried about sounding salesy before? Not everyone, but most people in here. Well, it seems like most of you resonate with all of these. You're in the right place. And by the end of this mastermind, you're going to discover why people actually really buy, and why it has nothing to do with convincing them. If you want long-term clients, right? If you want a sustainable business. And here's the thing, this online world, there's a lot of skepticism going on. We're at a crisis when it comes to people trusting people, because they might have had a bad... You can all sit down, by the way. Everyone was... Is it not turned on? I'm quite... Should be all right. Yeah, should I start again? in terms of like the quick fixes, obviously like trust is at an all-time low in the online world because people are getting scammed. You know, some mentor sold them a dream or they had a sales rep. And these bad experiences, you might be speaking to people or people are following you on social media and they've got this bad stigma. Like Ellie literally had someone say to her the other day, "Oh, are you just another Bali guru?" Just because she was going to be running an event here. Someone literally straight up said, "Are you a Bali guru?" Like this is the type of stigmas that is going around in the world. So therefore, I focus on trust, and that's something that I'm going to be diving into today. And I'm also going to be sharing how to increase all of your sales, how to increase your close rate, how to convert more. And actually, you're going to start saying no to people rather than them saying no to you. And that's when it changes everything. But I want this right now. I want this to be all of your line in the sands moment. Your line in the sand moment that everything's going to change from today. You're going to look at sales in a completely different way than you may have ever looked at sales before. You're going to stop selling. And you're going to start serving. You're going to start making an impact. You're going to start helping. You're going to start serving. And that is how you build trust. And that is how you build long-term clients. And finally, this is something I'm sure all of you would like to do, is you're going to stop chasing clients. The old way of like constantly DMing people and all that type of stuff, like how many DMs do you get? I get constant messages from people on a day-to-day basis. It's all just noise. So rather than chasing clients, they're going to start chasing you. And this is the reason why obviously Chris, his strategy on social media is where clients are coming to you. You're getting followers constantly every day. You're attracting people. They're messaging you. Like what Charlie mentioned earlier, you're getting people to comment and, you know, DM you. So then you've got people coming to you rather than you knocking on their door. Because when you knock on their door, they've got more of like the authority almost. Whereas when they're knocking on your door, this is when you can then turn them into a client. So I just want to do a little exercise with all of you before we dive into this. So if any of you have done like meditations, visualizations before, I'm just going to do a short exercise with you. So if everyone wants to just put their feet on the ground, put their palms facing the air on your knees. So you've got two forms, right? If you have your palms facing upwards, you're going to be receiving. You're going to be receiving codes. You're going to be receiving energy. If you put your hands facing down, you're going to be more grounded and calm. So I want us all with our hands facing the sky because we're going to be receiving. Ellie, if you're able to put the music on. Everyone close down the eyes. Relax. Close down the eyes and I want you all to breathe slowly through your nose and hold at the top. And I want you to slowly breathe out through your mouth. And again, I want you to all breathe through the nose slowly. Hold at the top. And I want you to all breathe out through the mouth.
This version of you.
I want you to imagine right now, I want you to fast forward to the future when you've created all the financial freedom you are here to achieve. You're a six-figure earner, you're a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, whatever your goal is. I want you to imagine the feeling, whether you're more of a feeler or a seer, I want you to imagine seeing that in the bank account. You open up your bank account and you see £1 million. You see £10 million, or you can feel it. You've already achieved it. It's already done. The version of you already exists. That version already exists. And now you're there. I want you to feel the emotions that you've done it. You don't need to stress anymore. You can relax. Okay? And now you're there. I want you to imagine the impact you're making. I want you to visualize or see a family member that you're going to help. Are you going to retire your mum, your dad, your family? Are you going to change the world? Picture who you're going to be with when you've created that financial freedom, because that's your why. And now you're there. I want you to just soak that in. Feel it. You've already done it.
And you're right here with this version of you. See things as they really are.
And now, I want you to imagine you're in your dream location. Are you on a beach with your family, your loved ones? Are you in the woods, in the jungle? Where are you? And now you're in this moment. Remember, you can tap into this moment whenever you want. If you ever get a setback, if you ever get a challenge, remember that the future version of you has already overcome that setback and challenge. Get excited by the challenges, because that's how you grow, that's how you win, okay? And again, breathe through the nose. Hold at the top, feel it. You're a millionaire, you're a multi-millionaire, you've done it. Hold it and breathe out through your mouth. And just sit on that moment. Have a dance if you want, celebrate. You're all winners. You are all winners. You're all in Bali. You're already winning. Let's go. Everyone, if you want to open your eyes. Woo! Let's go. I hope some of you would have had different experiences. Some of you would have saw more. Some of you would have felt more. Regardless, you tapped into that power, you tapped into that energy. And imagine doing that before you get on a sales call. Imagine doing that before you film a podcast or you film content. Imagine getting into that energy and state before you do anything. Think of the difference you're going to come across in your content. You're going to come across when you're doing a talk like this. This is the reason. Not only was I doing this exercise for you guys, but I was also doing it for myself, because you can probably tell my energies increase from me also doing this as well. This is something I do on a day-to-day basis. I'm always in awareness of what energy am I in right now. So I want this to be a line in the sand that you're going to start serving. So I did a talk here about 2 weeks ago. So I'm not going to properly dive into like my whole story. It's been a crazy adventure. But 9 years ago, back in 2017, was when I first started sales. I went on a TV show called IB for Weekender, and I got an opportunity to be an events rep out in Magaluf. So I booked a one-way flight while I was at uni, and I went out to Mallorca. No idea what I was going to do. I didn't really have any confidence. I was very insecure when I was younger. So this was very out my comfort zone, but I had a feeling to just do it. And when I was there, I got an opportunity to be an events rep. That's just me being, I'm at a party, a dress-up party. I'm dressed up as Batman. Batman. And we got the real Batman over here though, Charlie, Mr. Batman. And when I first started sales, I remember my first day. Bearing in mind I was insecure, I had no confidence, and I had to go out there. I had a ticket book in my hand, and I went on the streets, and I had to get people on boat parties, pool parties, bar crawls. And my whole day, I was on the streets for 8 hours, and I made nothing. I made no money. I'd literally walk up to a group, and I'd just walk past them. I was literally too scared to even speak to people. So going from that 9 years ago, the last thing I thought, fast forward 9 years, that I would have gone on to invest over £50,000 into business mentors, sales mentors, mindset mentors, because of the money that I've been able to generate from this one skill of sales, which 9 years ago, I was too scared to even speak to people. I generated over 1.5 million in 2 years in sales revenue when I was in the solar panel industry. And I'm actually currently with Ellie, we're filming season 3 of our podcast, Freedom Lifestyle. And I've been fortunate enough to interview 6, 7, 8, even a 9-figure entrepreneur on my podcast. So everything that I've developed over the years is what I integrate into my coaching. So enrolling clients, it means some form of selling. Some of you in here may be a bit resistant or scared about selling because of the stigmas that you may have. So I've got a question for all of you to have a little talk between you all. Why do you think so many entrepreneurs avoid or hate selling? Feel free to have a little discussion of like, what have you found in you doing sales, but also being sold to? Like, what is it you hate about selling? Just do a few minutes, have a chat together, and I'm curious. Sweet. I'm curious. Some examples of like why some of you may not like sales or why you don't like other people selling. I'm curious for some feedback. If anyone wants to share some examples, Magnus.
For me, in the mental health space, some people accuse me like you're taking advantage of vulnerable people. I get that quite a lot.
Okay.
You know, people see me as someone who manipulates people or taking money off people who, you know, would usually say yes, but because they've got a mental health problem, you know,
okay.
they're doing it because they've got no choice. I get that quite a lot.
I would make content about that.
Thing.
Yeah, make content about it. Because here's the thing, right? I get it, because there is this thing, right, of like, with sales, essentially, like, money's involved with it, and that can be sometimes a bit of a taboo subject. But one thing I've realised, and I think this is for all of you to take away from this, I'm sure Baz, he smashes it in sales, he'll know this as well. There's a different, I'm sure all of you, if you've had, like, the clients you've had, if you had that client and you worked with them one-to-one and you did it for free, they probably wouldn't take it seriously. So share that.
I've given away giveaways to people who, like, I did a giveaway once, and it was like I did a webinar, 100 people showed up.
Yeah.
And then I was giving away some free programs. So I did a group program and I did a one-to-one program.
Yeah.
Occasions ago, I overgave 100%.
Yeah.
And this guy's like, I never win anything. So I was like, I'm gonna fucking pick this guy.
Yeah.
And then he never turns up to sessions.
This is the thing. So this is where you can share this in your content and examples, like speaking about a third person of like, an example of I was given so much for free and they weren't taking it. It was like me, when I first started online, I started out with a £20 a month membership was what I was charging to start with. And I realized I was getting people not showing up to calls a lot. I was getting a lot of people like dropping out. Like my churn rate was getting high and I wasn't getting the results. So yeah, it wasn't worth them paying £20 because they weren't getting the results because they didn't take it seriously. As soon as you then someone starts investing £1,000, £5,000, £10,000 plus, they take it seriously. So that's one thing I would definitely share on that as well, is open up some like conversations on content around that. And I think that I do really well. You're essentially overcoming objections through your content, but you can also share them stories if you're on a call with someone as well. Even ask them, like, how much more committed do you think you are going to be to getting this result by you putting money into it, putting skin in the game, right? Compared to not, and get them realizing, oh shit, yeah, no, actually this is a good thing to do. And then you're going to get them the results and they're going to be really happy. So it's like, is it you becoming this version of you that doesn't have anxiety anymore? Because I know obviously that's your focus. Is it worth this money? If you could give me that now and it's gone like that, would you do it? Yes or no? So it's like reframing that. But that was a really good, and I can see why that would come up for you, but I hope that helped. But yeah, I'm curious.
Fear of rejection.
Fear of rejection. Okay, and that was to do with, hating, 100%.
Yeah.
Fear of rejection of someone saying no, 100%. A lot of people will experience that. But one thing you've probably heard, if you go to the barber shop and you wait long enough, you're going to get a yes. So it's like the fear of rejection. The more no's you get, start celebrating the no's. Start getting excited by the no's, because every no you get, you're actually one step closer to a yes. It sounds quite obvious and basic, but then you're reframing a negative and you're turning it into a positive. So I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah? Ellie?
We were saying about when you feel you're a creative person,
Yeah.
you feel like your strengths are better in that field than
For
in
sure.
the selling space.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point as well. And that's where like the art of delegation is really, really important. But one thing I would certainly say, especially in the startup, because I've even done this myself, I'm very good at sales. And even I've tried to delegate too soon before. And I've realized that you're better off doing it yourself first. So then when you delegate it, you're going to be able to actually help them more. Plus, it means that you're not reliant on someone. Like let's say you always delegate to agencies all the time. What if that agency stops? I mean, I walked away from an agency that I had. So it's like, if you get reliant on an agency and you don't have the skills to do it yourself, then your business could literally go bust. So having the skill of sales, whether you're into sales or not, is one of the most life-changing. Even I'm confident in public speaking, and bearing in mind, like 9 years ago, I had no confidence. For me, the reason why I'm so confident with this is because of my communication, because of all my sales skills. So when you learn sales, you're going to be better on content, because ultimately content is another form of selling. You're going to be better in social situations, in networking. So the skill of sales, whether you're someone selling or not, is like one of the most life-changing skills you can possibly learn. But yeah, very valid point. And I think it can sometimes be annoying when you're like, I'm so good at this, I wish I could delegate this. But think of how passionate you're going to be, because you're really good at creating. So it's like, be passionate about sales, because I know I can change someone's life. Have that mindset. I'm not trying to make money, I'm trying to help someone. Joey?
Yeah, kind of got covered under everything, but I think confidence, people aren't confident enough to sell, people aren't
Yeah.
confident enough to speak about their offering or either.
for sure. I've got an exercise actually for all of you to go away and do. This is a really good confidence exercise that works so well. Write down 10 reasons why someone should invest into you. Because you mentioned earlier, Chris, it's saturated, right? There is so many coaches, there is so many this, however, there's nobody that's you. So it's like, what uniqueness do you have to offer that you can bring to the table? So you've got to get sold on yourself. Before you sell anything, if you wouldn't buy from you, why would someone else buy from you? So like, you've got to get sold on yourself, not from an arrogant standpoint, but more from a certainty, a confidence standpoint. Because if they can sense you're not confident, they won't buy from you. So number one, write down 10 reasons why someone should invest into you and not say another PT or another sales coach or another this. Get really clear on that. Is it like, for me, a lot of people invest into me because of my energy and how I can help them get in better energy. That's nothing to do really with like business and sales, but it kind of is. That's like my uniqueness. Like with Chris's uniqueness, there's loads of personal brand monetization people out there, but I've not seen it out. I've seen a lot on social media. Chris has some of the best storytelling content that I've seen out there. That's his uniqueness. People literally, he doesn't even really talk about what he offers because he just does his storytelling content, and then people engage on his content and they're like, wow, I want to. So like Bassett, you're in sales, like, you know, break down a sales call. So people are actually watching you in the game doing it and they're like, wow, I'm learning so much. He's got so much knowledge. I want to learn about this. So it's like, how can you, if you're like obviously PT Joey, like you doing your workouts, like the day in the life of what you do to be in the shape that you're in, like what are you eating? How are you training? What are you doing in between your sessions? Is there other things that you're doing that maybe other people aren't doing? It's like, how can you bring your uniqueness into it? And that's really going to help. So 10 reasons why they should invest into you. 10 reasons why your offer. Like, why should they invest into your offer because over somebody else's offer? And then if you have a company, 10 reasons why they should invest into your company. Is your company, like what values has your company got over other companies as an example? Get clear on that. And then when you go on a sales call, see the difference it has. Because you're like bang, 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 bang. Like you've got so much certainty that they want to move forward with you. But yeah, some really good, it's been really interesting to hear like everyone's different. And the ones that you shared is probably the thing that you need to obviously work on the most, right? The ones that you shared. Okay, so the reason why I actually think that a lot of people dislike selling is this. Imagine you were in the dating scene, or imagine you're on your first date, whether you're on a Tinder or you're on a first date with someone, and they asked you in the messages or on your first date straight away, they literally straight up said, will you marry me? Straight away. You would be a bit like, whoa, 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 we've just met. Like, we've just started talking. You're already asking to marry me? Like, imagine they're ringing up their parents, I'm about to get married. They're like, what? You've only just met them, right? It's desperate. It comes across a bit needy. There's that quote of like, girls don't like the good guys. It's a bit too desperate, right? So then what happens is, if you get that message on Tinder, you probably won't reply. Or if you're on a date with someone, you probably won't go back on another date with them because you're a bit like, whoa, they're trying to marry me already. Compared to going on a date with someone, building a relationship, connecting, becoming partners, continuing the relationship, integrating the families, and in 5 years, 7 years, whenever you're ready to ask for marriage, you haven't done it on the first time. You've done it after years of building relationship, building trust, and now you're ready to do it, right? They're gonna say yes 9 times out of 10, right? Whereas that, you're probably never gonna, unless the girl was extremely desperate as well, you're probably not gonna get people wanting to marry after that, right? And that's what I think happens in sales. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced this before. Have you ever been on a connection call or a coffee call, or you've gone to meet someone for a coffee and they're literally straight up full on pitching you, like on the first time you've ever met them, there's been no trust there and they're literally trying to straight up close you while you've just met up for a connection call. Have any of you experienced that before? Yeah? Some of you haven't. How did that make you feel in that scenario? Icky? Transactional? Anyone else? Shallow. And did you buy? No, you didn't. And then what happens is they might have genuinely had a life-changing offer. Like their offer might have been so good and you might have needed it. But because you dived in so quick, you dived into the pitch too soon, you've now lost your chance, and they probably won't really speak to you again. They'll probably unfollow you on social media, and they might ghost you. And in that, you've literally completely burnt that opportunity because you didn't build a trust. Was that a question?
It's almost like if you meet someone and then you, like a friend, and you haven't spoken in a while, and then they randomly text you out of nowhere, and you're like, huh, this is a little odd. Like, this is pretty random. And then you're like, oh, how's life been? And you're like, it's been good.
Yeah.
And they're like, then they want to like sell you something, or like, oh, I just did this, and it just comes off very just not natural.
That's it. Like you just almost, people know what's coming here.
Yeah.
And this is the thing with DMs as well. A lot of the time is like people are like, what's coming here? Whereas when they're knocking on your door, then they've come to you rather than you coming to them. So I hope that's made you all have a bit of a mindset of how sales can be perceived. And this is why people that get pushed into sales and they get convinced or manipulated, they have a bad stigma, and then that might hold them back from moving forward with something because of that experience. So it's obviously desperate energy. It's the same in dating, and it's the same in business. If someone's on a call with someone and they can sense that you're desperate, that you need the sale more than they do, like you probably heard the term commission breath before. They can sense it, right? And it's because you're desperate. And then when you're desperate, you're going to be chasing all the time. You're going to be trying to convince everyone. You're going to be trying to beg, and you're going to be very needy. Compared to someone like the scenario here, him as an example, he's trusted, he's calm, and he's got the yes. Whereas when the person is desperate, they're chasing, they're convincing, they'll usually get a no. Or sometimes you may have been pushed into a sale before, and then you end up getting something called buyer's remorse. So when you've got things like 14-day money-back guarantees as an example, yes, you might have closed the deal, but then they cancel anyway. Or they become an absolute headache of a client because you've had to sell and push them more than the other way around. You want them selling you rather than it being the other way around, and they're the best clients that you have. I always say it, what happens when you chase a dog? The dog runs away, right? And it's the same in money, and it's the same in business, and it's the same in sales. When you're in a chase energy, you're actually repelling what you want. So you want to be grounded, you want to be calm, and that's why doing the confidence work works really well, because you know your shit. You know you can help somebody, so then you're in a way better state. Whereas if you're really trying to convince them, then they're gonna run away. So this was one of the biggest belief shifts that I had, because when I started out 9 years ago in Magaluf, I wasn't on a mission to change the world and make an impact and all this type of stuff when I started. I was just selling boat parties. It was so fun, right? So at that time, I didn't really think about these type of things, because actually, I don't know if any of you have been to Magaluf, Zante, Ibiza, these type of places, but you walk down the street and you get bombarded from people that were trying to get you in the bars. I was more of a daytime person, so I'd be like, I wasn't as annoying than what a lot of the ones were at night. But because of the people at night that were quote unquote being desperate, trying to drag them in bars, we then got the reputation that we were like them, and that then caused a lot of conflict. And they think that you're pushy, they think that you're desperate. So my biggest belief shift was to do the complete opposite to what a lot of people are doing. And that's where it comes into actually saying no to people. Imagine being on a sales call, even if you needed the money, and you turned around and said, you didn't even have to say no to them, but you didn't pitch the person you were speaking to, because you're not in a desperate state. Because only move forward and pitch someone that genuinely needs what you're doing, and you know that you can help them. Otherwise, you're just in it for money. And when you're in it for just money, the backfire happens. You're going to get bad comments. You're going to get bad energy. You might get bad reviews. Word of mouth is a massive thing. They might start going around and telling people. So for instance, I actually invested, when I first launched the program a few years ago, I invested $3,000 into this marketer who was in Bali going around doing this to a lot of people. I invested $3,000. Ellie turned around to me when she saw the funnel. She went, I could have done a better job than that. So I didn't even end up using the funnel. He completely disappeared. I lost $3,000, right? So these situations can cause a bad stigma from them people stopping from moving forward. So you need to be the opposite. Because imagine you're on a call with someone and they don't actually pitch you because they don't think you're the right fit to work. The respect there is so much better. Or you understand their financial situation and you're like, right, rather than me trying to get you to invest, I want to help you for free. And that's where like podcasts and your YouTube content, books, different things like that, where you can help people for free. So then when they're ready to buy, they're now going to invest into you because you wasn't being desperate or you wasn't being pushy. They're going to come back to you. So I've got a framework that I created, the Freedom First Trust framework. So let's say you have a cold lead. So someone's just found you on social media, right? Or you've just met someone in person, right? At the moment, at the start, they're going to be a bit cold, right? Because the trust isn't there yet. You then, step number 2, feel free to write it down, take a photo. Step number 2 is you want to focus on connection. So actually genuinely connecting with them rather than just going from a cold lead straight into trying to marry them, right? You want to connect with them, build a relationship with them. A bit like what Chris was saying, like me and Vinny are both from Bristol. We literally met last week. We instantly connected because of that. The connection was there. Then the next stage is value, right? So like, I guess this scenario, me and Vinny met a week ago. Now, like he's gaining value from this training, right? It's value, okay? So it's like, how can you create value for the people that you're meeting? Like, I know Chase, you're smashing the TikTok lives. What value, like you're giving them value, right? Because you're showing them Bali and they want to see it. But it's like, what else can you do? Maybe Q&As and things like that to give value to the people that are showing up for you. So then, boom, you've gone from a cold lead, you've connected, you've gained value. This is then going to create trust. I don't know if some of you may have heard it, some of you not, but it takes roughly around about 7 hours for someone to become a fan of yours, right? To build the trust. And this is why, obviously, with Chris's content, the short form is incredible. But this is why when Chris started working with me, the first thing I got Chris to do was to run a live training. And when he did that, that was when he first got his first few clients after doing that training. Because it went from, imagine you've got Chris's audience, they've been watching him on social media for like the last 5 months, 6 months, a year. They've been gaining trust, they've been gaining value, they've connected to Chris because he's so vulnerable, he's so relatable. And now he's offering them like a live training for like an hour or an hour and a half, or like a book or a YouTube content or a podcast. That's where long form then comes in to build even more trust, even more value. And now they're more likely going to then invest into high ticket. If any of you in here have like a low ticket investment, like let's say $9.99, $50, £50, £100, anything under like $1,000 really, like you don't even need sales calls. It's getting to a point now, I know a mentor that has a £25,000 mentorship and he doesn't actually do sales calls. So like it's actually transitioning to the point online. If you can build enough trust, value, connection in your content, you can get to a point, and this is my goal, to get to a point where you don't even need sales calls. They're applying, they know how much it is to work with you because you're upfront with them. They're gaining all of this anyway. They can learn from you for free, but if they want to then take it to the next level and have one-to-one with you, like it's almost like I don't even give away my time for free on a call because I'm working on with my clients. I'm focusing that time on creating content, right? That just shows the power of building trust, that you can get someone to invest 25 grand. Charlie.
Good question. You know the whole thing of like desperate and like not desperate and
Yeah.
salesy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What sort of content and stories would you suggest like posting to come off like you don't need them at all? Do you suggest like almost like closing your ticket, like you know, just say like look, applications are closed, we don't need any more people right now, like
100% that. 100% like sharing things like I only take on X amount of one-to-one clients as things like that, because it creates the urgency. And also like in your scenario, Charlie, like I know you genuinely don't need to be doing your mentorship. So share about that. Like share about that. I know you've got really good brand deals, right? You can talk about how this isn't a money maker. Yes, it's going to make you money and profit. However, like you don't actually need to do this. You've got a calling to do this, because I know you want to create a massive movement, right? And create your own world. So talk about that. Talk about the world that you want to create, the movement that you want to create, so people buy into the movement and the world that you want to create, rather than, he's just trying to sell me. Does that help?
yeah.
Amazing. So then the next stage, this is something that I like to do, and this is just for my background of getting into coaching, is I like to then go into coaching. And you can do that either through content, or you can actually have a coaching call with someone. Like what value, like with Chris as an example, he does a lot of like social media audits with people. He creates like brand strategies with people for free, because we're at that stage right now where it's not scaled to 7-8 figures. And then when you get to that point, that's when you start having like teams in place or etc. However, right now at the moment, like the more value you can provide is going to move someone closer towards investing. Like why not do it? So it's like, how can you, like what skills do you have? Like let's say you're a videographer. Can you do, you can do like one edit for free as an example, like one just to show them what you can do for them. And they're like, and you could even take them through the whole process of like how you would do that with them. So like, wow, I really want this full time now. Or if you're in sales as an example, like maybe run through like an objection handling session with them as an example. So it gives you the authority and you can teach them how to overcome objections better. Like what value can you offer people? So that's where the coaching comes in. And then if you're on that coaching session with them, and you think they'd be a perfect fit, then you can then invite them to the opportunity to work in one-to-one with you, or join in your mastermind, or join in your retreat. You invite them to it, rather than like just straight up saying like, will you marry me? Straight away. No, you're going to invite them. You're going to let them say yes. You're not just going to give it to, you're going to say, is this something you want to explore? Like, and then you then go into that, and you can then either book them in for another call, or you can then just go straight in for it on the call then, because they've accepted that they want to explore working with you, right? And then once they've moved forward, that's when you can give them the transformation. And then you can just get the testimonials, the case studies, and you can just rinse and repeat. And the more testimonials and case studies you get, the more trust that you're going to build, because you can talk about the case studies, the testimonials that you're getting, which is then going to attract more people into your ecosystem. And it's just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And then you get to one point eventually when you don't even need sales calls anymore, because you've got so much trust out there that does the selling for you.
Now, I've got one question.
Yeah.
You might cover it. Can you go back a slide?
Yeah.
When you transition from coaching to invitation,
Yeah.
are there certain things that you look for in the conversations you're having where you're like, okay, this person would be a good fit? Like, are they saying certain things? Are they asking certain questions?
100%. They're one big sign is when they're asking a lot of questions. So it's like, if for instance in this training tonight, right, the ones that are asking the most questions are like the most engaged, the most interested, right? So it's like, if they're asking you a lot of questions, that's a big sign that they're really interested in what you have to offer, and they value your value, essentially, right? So questions, energy. Have you ever been on a call with someone and they're like that? They're sat there like that. When I used to sell solar panels. So I used to sell like 10, 15, 20 grand solar systems in the UK. And I'd go around some guys, I'd be in their house, and he'd be sat there like that, like looking at me, like trying to. And like I've got a lot of trust to build and grow here, you know, because he's not being open at all. Whereas when someone's like on a call with you, they're opening up to you, they're being vulnerable, they're sharing their challenges. Whereas if you've got someone like that and you ask them a deep question, they will give you a surface level answer. They won't give you much because they're being really skeptical and they haven't built the trust yet. So when they're a bit more open, you know, they've got a good energy about them, they're opening up, they're being vulnerable, they're asking you lots of questions, and they've also, like, you've asked them the right questions and they know that what they want to create, etc. That's a good signal that they're ready to be invited to. And this is a real big tip, actually. So in the sales coaching world, a lot of people are very, especially for sales reps, one call close, one call close, one call close is like the mindset. And I do get that, and I've obviously been in sales for years. In terms of efficiency, doing it on one call is obviously the most efficient of your time. However, one thing I would say, and this is something for you all to take away from, one thing I've noticed is, yes, it's more efficient, but sometimes you're going to burn more leads by doing that. Whereas, because it's like what I said earlier about you're on a coaching call with someone, or you're on a connection call with someone, or going out for a coffee, and it's like you're giving them value, but now you're going to close them and they weren't actually ready. They haven't built enough trust with you yet. And now they just, like what you said, the word earlier, one of you mentioned transactional. It feels transactional now. Whereas when you invite them to another call, Let's say you want to go away and create a bespoke plan for them as an example, right? And then you book them in for another call. You then, let's say you book them in within like 48 hours. Within that 48 hours, you want to nurture and build the relationship more. Like, how else can you give them value and get them to, and build trust with them in between the two calls that you've had? So then when you go on to the next call, the trust level's even more. So now they're more likely going to close. So yes, it's not always as efficient. However, if you want to increase your close rate, doing that strategy works really well. And especially for people that aren't as wanting to be as salesy, and they may have doing it that way will just make you feel really good around doing that as well. But one thing I would say is have a trust radar. So what I found with myself, if I got on a call with someone and they watched the 7 hours or 9 hours of content, the one call close is actually pretty easy. Like, they're ready to buy. Whereas if you get on a call with someone and they've only seen like your short form content as an example, I would strongly recommend like taking the process a bit slower, booking them in for another call, and then building that trust in between the calls. So almost have a bit of a trust radar when you're on a call with someone before you decide to make the pitch. It's like a game of chess, the way I look at it. You want to play the right move, because as soon as you play the pitch move, then that's when they could end up ghosting you, etc. Because you haven't given them enough, you haven't connected with them enough yet, you haven't given them enough value, you've not given them enough trust, and you've not helped them enough. So you're doing it too soon. It all starts with trust. So this picture on the far left, this was season 1 of the Freedom Lifestyle podcast. I interviewed an entrepreneur called Liam James Collins. He's actually, funny enough, the owner of Cafe Coach. And they built a $25 million coaching company. They train people to become coaches. That's who I trained with in the end. And we interviewed him down in London, and we went for a drink afterwards. And there was such high levels of trust there, and I connected with him so much, because bearing in mind, I listened to him 2 years before I interviewed him on the podcast. I listened to him on another podcast, and I reached out to him 2 years before that. Really resonated with him, really connected with him. 2 years later, I then had my own podcast, and I reached back out to him with a voice note and ended up landing him onto my podcast down in London. But genius from him, after the podcast, I connected even more. He had free one-to-one spots. It was $20,000 to work with him one-to-one for 6 months. I was in a position where I was running a £20 a month membership at the time, so I really didn't have $20,000 sitting around, but I just had a gut feeling to do it. And what would my millionaire version of myself do? $20,000 to him isn't a lot. $20,000 to me was. So I committed and I made it work, and I invested with him. But that's because I had trust there. He had credibility, he gave me value, there was a lot of trust there. My relationship, there's such high levels of trust between myself and Ellie. Like, we've been together for 5 years, we've been traveling the world, we've lived a pretty crazy life. There's so much trust there now. Whereas I know some relationships, you're dealing with like trust problems when their partner's going out. So the more trust that you build with your partner, the stronger it's gonna get. And it's the same in sales. And then this was me, a photo where I took out all my clients when I did my first launch. I did my first launch on my high ticket offer. I actually made the $20,000 back from my first launch that I ever did. This was back in 2023. And I took them all out because it was the first time I was doing it. I wanted to make a nice experience, so I took everyone out for a night on me. So that's another thing to strongly recommend with your offers. Is like, what can you do for people? Can you run like a in-person mastermind for the day for your clients? Can you take them out all for dinner? Can you they could get access to your retreat as an example? Like, what else can you offer which shows that you genuinely actually care, which is going to build the trust, which then they're going to more likely move forward with you. So how do we build trust? There's 3 formats, and Connect is a big one that Chris talks about. And this is where Chris's storytelling content is something that's so powerful, because you're going to connect with the people that you're speaking to. People like to buy from people, right? So if you can connect to the person, and this is why I really like getting connected with people on Instagram compared to just WhatsApp. WhatsApp just usually disappears. Whereas when you connect with someone on Instagram, if you're consistent with your content, they're going to be watching you every day, these short clips. They're going to be connecting with you more, building a relationship with you, right? So that's step 1. Serve is the next step. So you kind of are serving, obviously, with your short form content, But to take it another step, it's like the YouTube content, like longer form content. Obviously, Chase, you're literally going on TikTok lives for like hours, right? Like that's like you're serving by putting your time and energy into that for free, right? YouTube, me doing this right now is a way for me to serve and impact. I'm doing this for free, right? So that's the second part, is serve. And then finally, they're going to then understand you, right? When they've connected with you, you've served them, they understand you and you understand them. And that's why on having a call with someone, you can really get to understand them. People like to feel heard. And that's why I like to have the philosophy of focusing on coaching. Because when you focus on coaching, you're genuinely listening to them. You're getting to know them. I've been on calls before where like they're not trying to understand me at all. They're just following some script. Whereas sometimes, yes, scripts can help, but just be genuine when you're speaking to people, really connect with them, and you're going to open up with them. So coaching before closing is what I like to call it. Rather than just like a discovery call straight into a pitch, focus on the coaching call. What value can you offer them? Is it a social media audit? Is it you'll watch, like break down the sales call on a call with them? Or if you're on, I'm just trying to, PT as an example, can you give them like accountability, like a plan to do as an example? And then you then invite the right ones to it. If they're not the right fit, you either, and this is where it gets really good, you can recommend them to someone else, and you could then start setting up like affiliates with other mentors. So then you can, let's say for instance, I'm on a call with someone and they're really struggling with anxiety. I could be like, right, I can connect you with someone that actually specializes with that. So not only am I like on a call with someone saying, look, this isn't the right fit for us. However, I do have someone that I know in my network that would be really valuable for you. That's when you start thinking more abundantly rather than scarce. A bit like me and Chris. Me and Chris aren't business partners. Like we don't own the same business, but we're partnered together. He works with my clients, I work with his, and actually we've just created a joint offer together. So it's like we've partnered together, but we're not necessarily business partners. So it's like, who in your network could you partner with and have a bit of like a commission with each other? So if you pass them, you get like a percentage of it. So it's like a win-win. But ultimately, you're focusing on serving rather than, I just want all the clients to myself. That mindset changes everything. Imagine every call that you had with someone, the prospect actually genuinely feels like you served them. They feel understood. They feel motivated and inspired, compared to leaving that call a bit like, whoa, that was intense. He was just trying to close me. Like, I'll be fully honest. And this has been where I would have been desperate before in my time. I've had some calls that they've said they were going to move forward. I booked them in for another call. I never heard from them ever again. I don't know if anyone's ever experienced that before. It's very common in the sales world. I didn't build enough trust, or I was being too desperate, right? You want everyone leaving like that, because when people leave the call like that, they're more likely going to invest into you, and they're more likely going to connect you with other people as well. So this is a philosophy that I like to share, and this is the whole abundant mindset. If you were to walk into Rolex now with like £20,000 cash, a lot of the time they'll say you need to join the waiting list. We've got a 6-month waiting list before you can even get the watch. You could literally physically have the money and they get you to join a waiting list. The reason they do that, I guarantee you they've got so many Rolexes in a manufacturer that they've got ready to go. But they create the exclusivity with having wait lists. With having, like, it's like in coaching, you have X amount of spots. It creates the exclusivity like what Rolex do, and that's when you can start charging more. Whereas if you're constantly open, etc., you're not as exclusive, right? So select people, don't convince people. So when you're on a call, almost imagine like it's like an interview kind of like, do you actually want to, because let's say you're working with someone for 3 months, 6 months, a year. That's a lot of your time and energy that you're going to be putting into them. Like, do you really want to be working with them for like a year? Could you imagine like going out for dinner? Like us lot all tonight having dinner together. Like the last time I did the Cafe Coach talk here a few weeks ago, the dinner afterwards, everybody was just chatting all night. People couldn't leave. People wanted to leave and then they ended up staying for another hour, 2 hours. And it's because it's the right like-minded group of people that's all been attracted to this type of talk, right? So it's like, imagine your clients can be people that you want to go out for dinner with, you want to run retreats with, you would go on holiday with them. It's a bit like, obviously me and Chris met through the Creator Club. Like Louis is literally getting paid. He's getting paid to go on holiday. He's basically doing lads holidays and people are paying him to do it. Genius, right? And it's because he's created he's attracted the right type of people that he would be mates with anyway, but obviously they're invested into him because he's built a massive brand. You know, he's hanging around, you know, you'll see it a lot, right? He does a lot of creating content. A lot of you might probably know Mike Thurston. I actually found Louis through listening to Mike Thurston's podcast with Louis. It's like the law of association. Because Louis got himself in these networks, he's been able to then, you know, create memberships and people want to join them because of who he is and who he hangs around with, right? And it's the Rolex approach. So how can you implement that into your business, whether you're starting out or you're looking to create it? So the invitation is such a nice way of doing it. Like based on everything we discussed, like I am extremely confident that I could help you get from share a pain that they literally shared. Let's say they're overweight, they've got no confidence, they're struggling to make money, they're struggling to sell. Share that and then share what it is that they wanted, what's their dream, what's their desire. And that's when you invite them to that opportunity. And then you've got two options, like I mentioned earlier. You could then dive into it then if they want to do it now and the trust there, or you just strategically put them in for another call just so you can build up some more trust with them. So the invitation is a real nice way to transition from a discovery into, whereas if, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes you're on a connection call, they haven't invited you, they've just like dived straight into it. You want a transition between like a discovery part and then moving forward into your pitch. The biggest pitch mistakes that I see, and that I've been guilty of all of these. Obviously the Rolex, I've mentioned that a lot, not being exclusive, just letting anybody in, right? It's like the same with the Creator Club. They say it only takes a few bad eggs to ruin the food, right? So if you then have some bad eggs join your community or your mentorship, the energy then just starts getting off. They start talking negative about you, and they start talking negative with your group, and then it gets nasty. And that's why you want to be exclusive with who you work with, because it's your time and energy at the end of the day. Talking too much. So obviously this training, the majority of it has been myself talking, whereas when you're in a pitch, if your pitch is as long as this, if your pitch was as long as this training, like wow, like people aren't gonna invest. They're gonna be ready to leave, right? Hence why I did like energy things with people, because I understand energy can slowly drop. So when it comes to pitching, you wanna be fast, like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, like short, concise, be powerful with it, rather, because the realization I had when I was in high ticket sales, I sat down with the sales manager and he showed me the way that we should pitch. And it was a presentation. It was over an hour long of a pitch, a presentation. Imagine sat on a call with someone and they are literally giving you a presentation for an hour to pitch you. And you don't even know how much money it's going to be. You're like, oh, just hurry up, right? So that's why you want to be really fast with it. And then this is another one you've probably heard of. When you're new to sales, it's really easy to share, just talk about the features. You get these calls, you get this, you get this, you get this. Yes, the features are important, but it's the result that they want. It's the transformation that they want. You want to be diving into that more rather than just the features that they get. And then the other part is not sure. So for instance, one of my clients, Todd, I took him through a process of launching his high ticket offer. His first launch, he made 10K from his first launch that he did. I could sit here, tell you that during a pitch as an example or now, but when you actually show evidence, like a screenshot, a video testimonial, etc., it creates so much more evidence, which creates more trust, and they're more likely then going to move forward with you. So the Freedom First pitch framework. So this is like the strategy that I do when it comes to like crafting a bit of a pitch. Feel free to, I can send you the presentations as well. But share why they've been selected. It's like, imagine like you've been selected for this, let's say like Charlie with you, you've got like your community, it's like you've been accepted, you've been selected for this, right? It's like, it's not desperate, it's like you've been chosen for this, right? So share why they've been selected. I really connect with you, I really resonate with your story. I went through that exact journey, this is why I really want to work with you over the next X amount of months, right? Then this is controversial, but this changed the game when I started doing this about 5 years ago. I have a quote as well. Watch what everyone does and do the opposite. Most people wait till the end of the sales call to share how much it's going to be. I do the opposite. I actually share it up front with people straight away. The reason I do that is because the majority of the time, because I've experienced it being on the other side, when you're sat there, you just want to know how much it is. You might be sat on a call, pitching your heart out. They want to move forward, but then they're like, oh, I can't afford that. I haven't got the money, right? Whereas when you're just more upfront with people, you get the elephant out in the room, and then what happens is when they're hearing your pitch, they're way more invested into you because they know how much money it is. They're going to listen to it more. They're going to engage more. And then you can start asking questions whilst you're doing the pitch to interact with them. You get them to start selling themselves whilst they're doing the pitch, and you know in the back of your mind, you already know the money. Because I'm sure some of you will probably fear getting to the money, sharing how much it's going to be, right? So just get it out over the way, be confident, be certain with it, and it's going to increase your close rate. I'm very confident with that. Then share a powerful statement. You want to transition from the money straight into a statement, like what they're going to get, the transformation, the identity change that they're going to get after working with you, and then your roadmap, the how. If you're working with them for 3 months, 6 months, like paint them the journey. It's like walking down the street, like what's the journey you're going to be taking them through so they can like visualize themselves getting from where they are now to where they want to be. So then they can justify the investment. Then you want to show proof. So like what I did, sharing a photo, sharing a video, just to show evidence. And this is something good to do. Let's say you book someone in for an additional call and you haven't pitched them yet. Share them some testimonials, you've got some case studies, so they can start seeing it and believing it and trust. You go on Amazon, people look at reviews all the time, right? So it's the same in coaching. If anything, probably more in business and coaching. People want to see it. Then, if you've got a guarantee in place, then give them a guarantee. Obviously, like a 14-day money-back guarantee is like a legal requirement. And actually, there's pros and cons to everything. There's some negatives of it because sometimes people don't take it as seriously because of the guarantee. However, having some form of guarantee does reverse the risk a little bit. If they're a little bit shy and a little bit, oh, I want to do it, but I'm a little bit worried. If you've got that guarantee, it almost gives them a bit of like confidence. Well, actually, you know, if worst case scenario, I am able to back out, or worst case scenario, X, Y, Z. But you want to make sure that they're committed. So before I ever transition into like a pitch, I always ask them the question like, how committed are you to this? How committed are you? Are you all in or are you a toe dipper? Like, find out how committed they are before you even, like, that's the exclusivity part. You want to make sure you're working with committed people, because the committed people, the ones that aren't committed, they're headaches. And then a 2-option close. Now, this is gold for some of you. This is for DMs. This is in calls. The 2-option close, rather than would you like to move forward, would you like brings in no, yes or no. Would you like, yes or no. That shows that you're not confident, you're not certain, because you're bringing no into play. Rather than which option suits you best, the 3-month or the 6-month, or what's easier for you, monthly installments or invest in full and save 10%. Let's say you're running a weekend retreat and you've got a few different dates. Which retreat works better for you, this date or this date? When I used to sell solar panels, I'd get my phone calendar up and I'd say, when do you want to get your new solar panels installed so you can start saving the money? And then I'd show on my calendar and then I'd be like, which date suits you best? You're just going in for it. You're assuming the close, you're being confident, you're being certain. The odd time you go, whoa, someone will go, whoa, 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 I wasn't ready for it yet. However, 9 times out of 10, because of your certainty and confidence, especially if they've been like, you've given you all the signs throughout the call, they're gonna move forward with it, right? So that's like my pitch framework that I would recommend doing that step by step. So this is the last part before we all can enjoy dinner and celebrate together. But something I want to dive into is every objection. So there's a lot online about objection handling. It's something I can obviously guide a lot with. However, every objection that you get actually begins before the pitch, after the pitch, right? You can overcome every single objection that you get. You can actually overcome that in your content. A bit like what I shared with you earlier, Magnus. You can literally, the objection that you get, if you keep getting that, make content about it. So then the people that are getting on calls with you, they're watching that content, right? So then you're subconsciously overcoming the objection before they've even got on the call with you. And it's the same in the discovery. You can talk about that. You can share stories around people saying that, and you can share the story about commitment levels. So then they start overcoming the objections before they even come up. As an example, right? I need to think about it. you've likely not created enough trust. They don't even trust you enough, because when someone says I need to think about it, 9 times out of 10 it's a no, most of the time. Obviously you can overcome it, but it's because you haven't created enough trust for someone to straight up, like if I'm on a call with someone and I don't want to move forward, I'll tell them no. And actually this is another piece of gold to share with all of you. If you keep getting that same objection, ask yourself, do you use that same objection? When someone's trying to close you, are you the one that always says I need to think about it? Because if you're the one that always says I need to think about it to other people, guess what? You're going to get that back in your reality, in your calls that you have. That's why now I'm a strong decision maker, like yes or no. Like straight up let them know no, rather than I need to think about it, because it's only going to backfire for you, right? I need to speak with my partner. Now this is a common one, right? So look, it's a valid point. Let's say you share a bank account with your partner, or you like to make decisions with them. I completely understand that. But the way of not getting that come up is ask them in the discovery stage, when it comes to making an investment into yourself, or when it comes to going from X to Y, is there anyone in your life that you would love to have in this conversation to help you make a strong decision? Straight up, your mum, your dog, your cat, your nan, your partner, is there anyone that you need to have on that session and call with you to make a strong decision? If they turn around to you and say, I would love to have my partner on it, then book in another call with them and their partner. And you straight up just say, because look, I understand, happy wife, happy life, they're probably going to ask questions. I would rather, let's have this call together and we can dive into it together. Or they might turn around to you and say, I make all the decisions myself, cool. So now when it comes to the decision making, I want a yes or no from them, right? Because they've straight up admitted that, right? It's too expensive. So if they say it's too expensive, you've likely not financially qualified them during, it's good to let's say you ask them roughly what are you earning? Because money can be a bit of a taboo subject, but as long as you frame it in the right, little things like roughly earn, on average, things like that, it subtles the conversation a little bit, and they're more likely going to tell you. So it's too expensive that you've either not financially qualified them in discovery before you pitch them, or you haven't created the urgency for them to move forward. Because if they were about to die and there was this magic pill or medicine that if they were to invest £10,000 now to do it and they get another year of their life, do you think they would find that £10,000 for another year? Yes. So there's urgency there. I'm going to die today. I need to find it, right? They'll be ringing people to make it happen. So if they're saying it's expensive all the time, the urgency isn't there. So these are just you can learn so much from the objections that you're getting, and you've got to be almost like a bit of a detective. And how can you, Joey?
No, let's say on the money thing as well. Don't be scared to talk about money.
No, don't.
That's one of the key parts is you're being around us, coming up to the price and talking about it. You say with confidence,
Yeah.
Like I said, you feel it straight away.
You feel the energy.
Talk about that comes across that you think it's too much, or you don't believe in what you're offering as well, which is a big one.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing, right? You might think that £5,000's a lot of money, but a millionaire won't, right? So you don't know what they think is a lot of money in their mind. So it's having confidence about that. And then it's not the right time. You may have heard that one before. You've either not created enough urgency with the time, or you've pitched too soon. So as an example, when I was in solar, I'd sometimes go around to someone's house and there was no house. It was literally getting built and they want a quote and I'm there oh no. And it's going to be about a year's time until they're even going to get it, right? So it was pointless me investing my time and energy to fully pitch that, right? That was just build a relationship with them, give them a bit of context, but I'm not going to, how can I do a full quote without the house there, right? So it's not the right time. You want to find out on their journey, right? And create that urgency. But this is everything. I'm obviously very grateful for all of you tonight. I'm extremely confident that you would have gained a lot from both of these sessions, myself and Chris. The thing is I'm about to launch my book called Freedom First. So I'm going to give that all to all of you for free. Obviously the Cafe Coach talk, I mentioned it as well. I had some tech issues, so I haven't launched it yet, but it's about to get launched. So everyone that's attended, I'm gonna give you my new book that I'm launching for free. And that in there has the 8 steps to turn your knowledge, your skills and expertise, how to grow and monetize your business. So yeah, thank you. Very grateful for all of you. Thank you so much for watching that training. I am extremely confident that you gained so much value out of this. But one thing I will say, It's so easy to watch these type of trainings, get motivated, get some energy, but the real work, the real action where you're going to get results is by taking action. So my question to you, what's the one thing that you can take away from this training that you're going to implement in your life and business to help you create more freedom? Another thing I wanted to share as well is if you had any questions from this training, please feel free to message me in the school community where you can join it for free. If you're not already in there, message me your biggest takeaway, your biggest insight, or any questions that you have. And on top of that, this training was all about how to effortlessly enroll clients. My business partner, Chris, he actually ran a training on the same evening together, all about how to build your personal brand, how to grow your audience, and how to attract dream clients. Because it's all well and good knowing how to enroll them, but if you've got no one to enroll, then it's worthless. So if you're intrigued about watching that training as well, in the description below, I'm going to add the training there so you can enjoy it for free. But other than that, I'll be seeing you soon. Hasta luego.